How to kill the banker without being detected. So this one is a really interesting one. It started from 1933. I'm going to say a little bit of a replica of the environment we're in today, from a political environment, economic environment. Inflation and interest is out of control. And what do you do about it? We're going to kill it. In this video, I'm going to talk about 5 specific things. Number 1, what is private banking? Number 2, how do you qualify for it? Number 3 is probably my favorite. Let the banks find you, which there's just one way that you have to do that, so stay tuned for that. Number 4, how do you do it holistically? It's what I did, right? I've been private banking for now a couple decades. How do you do that? And then number 5, which is my favorite, is how do you kill the banker? The very guy who's going to give you the private banking. So let's begin. So where does this all come from? Right? So private banking, in my mind, has always been really the start of an entrepreneur. Like that needs to be an entrepreneurial goal, is that I'm going to be a private banker and then an investor. And way back in 1930s, I'm going to actually tell you a little story about killing the banker. It says, how do you kill the banker? So I'm actually going to read some of this. So kill the banker in honor of William, it's called Wild Bill Langer, 2-time governor of North Dakota. During the 30s was a huge supporter of farming and the Farm Holiday Association. So coming from a farm community in Nebraska, a lot of the farmers don't see themselves as entrepreneurs, right? They're on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th generation of farms by this point. And in the 30s, they weren't getting their crop share, right? Whether it was corn or, if they had cattle, whatever they had, they weren't getting fair pricing. And that has happened many times. I remember growing up in the 1980s when interest rates were out of control and inflation was out of control. Well, we're there, folks, by the way. We're in 2022. We're not in the 1980s or 30s, and we're experiencing it now. And I don't know how some of you are living without being, I wouldn't say in a panic, but very urgent about making money. So again, being an entrepreneur, getting an LLC, getting the trust where you can be your own bank, you can control your own money, and you have the privacy of that. So what happened in the 1930s with the kill the banker is literally that's what happened. In Iowa, a whole bunch of farmers, 1933 was the height of the Great Depression, and the financial bubble on Wall Street was out of control. So literally farmers were killing bankers. They would drag them out of the bank, they would hang them, and they would create, because the bankers were taking a lot. So, here's how rough it got. Literally, the bankers were trying to take the land away of the very thing that the farmers were using for the wheat, the ham, the eggs, everything. And so here's a fun saying that I want to just quote, is a lot of them said, we'll eat our wheat, ham, and eggs while, the bankers can eat their gold. So to start up, I'm actually going to read exactly what private banking is. So we're going to get to the definition. Private banking refers to a type of banking and financial service offered by certain banks to only high net worth individuals. So immediately, some of you are going to turn this off and say, well, I'm not high net worth. Well, let's just remind you that if you make $80,000 or more in the United States, you can just proportionalize that to whatever your, Forex is. 80,000 or more puts you in the top 25% of income earners. So it's not that big a deal. And then to be accredited, you have to make 200,000 or more, or 350 as a couple. And you say, well, what's accredited status? Well, that's your ability to invest in anything you want, right? You can invest like a shark. You can invest in very alternative investments. So we'll come to that on a different video. And at any time, if you have a question about something, go up to my search bar, put in what you want to look for, and I'm just going to keep doing videos helping you get financially literate. So what is private banking? Well, it's for high net worth individuals. And do you qualify or not? So how do you qualify? And do you even want this? I'm going to say yes. I've had private banking for, like I said, a couple decades. So the advantages are privacy. That's number 1. So as you grow in net worth, right? So you get to 500,000, $1 million. Typically, you need about $1 million to get into private banking. And that means you're putting in deposits. So some of you who are not millionaires, let's be really clear, you could do $1 million in deposits. So even if you own a company and you're doing $1 million of gross revenue, those are deposits in the banks, which, by the way, a little bank info, they get to 10x that at the central bank. So you give a deposit of $1 million, you've now given the bank the right to have loans of $9 to $10 million. That's the benefit you provide to a bank. So why is private banking so critical, and why do they offer it? First of all, you're assigned to one person, or typically a small team, that look at your net worth and what you're doing. You get discounts on certain products and services. And I'll tell you a story about my laundromat in a minute. But I want to continue. Advantages. Again, privacy is critical. You get a private banker that's going to be assigned to you and your family. You get discounts on products. And then number 4, you get discounts on fees. right? So depending on how you do it with them, you get discounts. Now, depending on what you invest in, which is a little bit different, they're going to actually charge you more. So it does kind of wash out. But here's the great story, because I knew this 10x banking rule, and it's just shocking that most people don't realize that when you give a bank even $100,000, if your business is making 100, you've now given the bank the right to go up and grab $1 million, and you say, well, what do they do with it? Well, it's called an arbitrage. That's how the banks make money. So then they give it out to consumer loans. So people who don't have as good a credit, they can charge them 8, 9, 10. In this interest environment, back up to 12 and 15% for a car loan, for a computer loan, for a home improvement loan, whatever you want. So that's how banks make money, is on their lendability and like their ability to do loans. Now back to you in private banking. Why is it important? Privacy, I would say, is number one. When I wanted to buy laundromats, right, because of my kids' book and wanting to have some kid-friendly businesses, I thought a laundromat would be fun. So I went into the bank knowing that I'd put millions into the bank, and I gave them a little spreadsheet. I said, so this is how I've helped you. Because of my deposits, gross deposits. So those of you who aren't millionaires, this still applies to you. If you made 100, 200, they're going to get $1 million, $2 million. So keep that formula in mind. So you're going to remind them of how much you've allowed them to go get loans for the local community. And so in exchange, I said, so I want a 0% loan. This was way back in the day when I lived in Marin County, California. And they looked at me, they died laughing. They said, aren't you cute? And I said, well, I am, but I'm serious. And there's this thing where the banks have to go to committee to get loans approved. So they would go to committee, and I came back and I got a 2% loan for a $200,000 laundromat. Now the banker said to me, well, why don't you use your own money? You have $200,000 in the bank. I said, well, because that's invested at 10, 12, 15. It's invested. I don't want to divest it and put it into cash to give it to you. You could give me your money at 2%, and I'm going to go buy a laundromat. And when we're all done, I'm going to keep the cash flow. I'm going to pay your 2%, and then I'm going to pay you all back, and I get to keep the profit. That's other people's money at the finest source, and it's the cheapest money. But for those of you, and I do want to just mention this because I know some of you are really, because of our environment right now, wanting to go off grid. This is the stuff that you want to stay on grid. So for those of you who want to go off grid, there's a portion of you or some family member that I believe should stay in this. The financial system is what qualifies you. Your credit's dependent on it. Your ability to use the system, make money, spend money, pay off credit cards. That's what creates you as a high value client. The only disadvantages, again, is once you start doing this, like I've had private bankers change, and then I actually moved from Marin to Lake Tahoe, Nevada. So I had to move and get a new banker. So you have to kind of get them all started up. And where they make some of their money back with you is if you buy their investment products, they're going to charge you sometimes a bigger management fee. So again, it's all relative. Highly encourage you to do it. Number 3, let the banks find you. Once you have $1 million in deposits, believe me, with all the AI and the data sourcing out there, they'll come find you. Banks are motivated to find you and find your deposits. And the people who are uneducated, which is most of the people, they'll come in for a little iPad, or, way back in the day, they'd come in and open a deposit and just so you could have a toaster or a coffee maker. It's crazy, the little crap that banks would give you, because most people walk around uneducated, financially illiterate, have no clue. You don't go in for a little tchotchke and a little toy. You got to go in financially literate saying, bank, I'm giving you the right to have my deposits, and we're going to have a relationship. So all this online banking, I'm not a fan. I like the face-to-face relationships. So you can do some of that. I'm about to be part of a big kids bank called Gravy Stack, super fun. But you know what? Right down the road at that local bank, I have a local private banker, and you want one too. Now, number 4, how do you do it holistically and organically? Well, this goes to everything I teach, is you need to do it through companies and trust structures. So the minute you're 18 and you're a legal adult, you can have an LLC. That LLC should be held in trust. If it's not held in trust, then whatever you have upon death will go to probate at your state. In fact, I have a video recording with one of my colleagues and partners. It's called Don't Let Your State Have Your Estate. And it's a very cool, in fact, I'll give you that as a gift at the end, but you have to stay all the way to the end to get the little link. In which, by the way, while you're hanging out here, why don't you subscribe to my channel? Click the little notification button, be here every day. All I want for you is 10 to 15 minutes for financial literacy. So if you're serious, you're going to be here every morning. We're here Monday through Friday. It only takes 10 to 15 minutes. And then this is how you come home at night, have your whole family. We have our whole office listen to it. What did you learn? What are you going to do different about your financial literacy? All right, so that's just a little side note. Now back to banking. When you have an LLC and it's held in trust, upon your passing, you won't go to probate. Probate's a big deal. I was down in a very local small town just recently talking to an older gentleman about really being a partner in a business. And I said, so are you incorporated? And he said, no, I've been a sole proprietor for over 20 years, which is not uncommon. For a lot of people, they were really misled. And I'm going to say, as one of my partners says, by CPAs, by accountants, by lawyers who have a license to steal. They don't know it, they don't live it, so they don't tell you the truth. So I don't know that they're lying to you. I just don't think they really have engaged at the level that you can actually be financially literate and use the financial system. So anyway, if you don't have a trust, so he's this whole provider the whole time. And he said, well, I don't need a trust. My lawyer said I will would handle. I said, no way. A will's just how you give away your things. Like, who gets my glasses? Who gets this diamond ring? Who gets a piece of jewelry? Who gets the couch? Who gets the cars? That's what a will does. It gives your stuff away to the people you want to give your stuff to. Now, you can actually be misled. And a lot of information on the internet is misleading about a will or a trust. A will, in my mind, in the simplest terms, is just giving your stuff away. The trust is the machine. That's the big daddy that protects you from the state, keeps you from going to probate. So even if you're only worth $100,000, or you say you're not making a lot, but you have a $250,000 life insurance policy, you want to have a trust, because if you don't, half of that, depending on the state, the lowest I've seen is maybe 30%, would go to the state in probate fees. So why would you even be worth $100,000 to give $30,000 back to your state? Why wouldn't you give all 100 to whoever you want your heirs to have it? So I'm an avid fan of LLCs held in trusts. So upon passing, that's how you pass generational wealth. It is imperative. And inside of all of that, you do private banking. And when you grow up and you're a multimillionaire, you then have your investment portfolio turns into what's called a family office. Another day, another time, another video on that one. But it starts with private banking. It starts with you becoming an entity. And if you're a super beginner out there listening, go back to my search bar again. LLCs, how do I start a side hustle? How do I make $100,000? I have a guaranteed program that will make you $100,000 in 1 year. Guaranteed. I'll give you your money back if it doesn't, but you have to do everything I say. And some of you can't be even here 5 days a week. So one last thing I do want to say about private banking and the holistic approach is the big way to do generational wealth and private banking is you get a very specific kind of bank insurance. So bank level insurance allows you to do life insurance. So your LLC, your trust will be tied into this life insurance upon your passing. All of that insurance gets loaded up into your trust, which then gets disseminated to your heirs. The Rockefeller family did it the best, and still today have held that kind of wealth for generations and generations. And this spins off a lot of conversations. I love Creature from Jekyll Island, which talks about how the banking system was formed. And more importantly, I love investing off Wall Street. My son just graduated from Georgia Southern with a finance and accounting degree, and he said, Mom, I finally get what you do. You invest off Wall Street in alternatives. I said, always. I've seen it when I was 18, 19 years old, reading Think and Grow Rich and really diving into financial literacy. Wall Street will control you forever. And as a lot of you say, well, that's why I don't want to be in the banking system. So the banking system, yes, it's a part of Wall Street. Investing is different than banking. There is a difference, right? You're going to put deposits in, you're going to have a private bank, and you're going to be able to move it. Now, for those of you who are crypto and NFT people, I am too. I'm probably not as big as some of you that are out there, but all the banks are going to get their own currencies. The United States countries will have their currency. It's just going to move towards that kind of more digital access. The United States has been way behind. I mean, there's countries where they haven't had actual checks, signed checks for a long time. They've been moving in electronic formats of banking for years. US is kind of catching up finally. So private banking, do you need it? I think you absolutely do. It's a goal to strive for, just like being an accredited investor. So if this is interesting to you, as you can tell, there's a lot of tentacles to this. If you're interested in this being a goal, I want you to go to askloral.com. I'm starting a new membership that if you want to ask me a personal question, I have a quick little membership that you can join, or you can just go to Ask Loral and ask any free question. I have a team that is on this. I have 6 people dedicated to this team. They'll be answering every question. They, yes, will be sending you right back here to YouTube. I have a lot of answers here. So, use the search bar. Share this with other people. Don't just come back after a YouTube video with me and ask your friends and family what they think. They don't know either. Have them engaged. So share this video. Let's get a lot of people in a new conversation about money, the one that should have been around for decades. So join private banking. Let me tell you how. Go to askloral.com. Again, fill out a question. Right behind that will be an application. So if you're really serious about working with me and understanding how to do this for you, fill out the application. One of my team members will call you back. Have a private conversation one-on-one with you and your family, and we'll get started. I'll talk to you tomorrow.